In today's book review, I have a very, very interesting book, like I always do. But in today's book, I'm actually doing it after my shift because it is my day off of weight training. And honestly, on as crazy as it sounds, leadership. Now, leadership is a very tedious thing. Why? Because it takes a lot to be a good leader. It takes a lot to want to work hard and to want to lead others to success. That is what I mean. It takes a lot to be a leader. And one of the main things when it comes to being a leader is learning to build relationships with people. And it amazes me for people who are not nice and or jerks, I guess the same thing, how hard it is for them to build relationships with people. Or that voice crack, but how hard it is for them to build relationships with people. So for the people you work with, the people you see at the grocery store, the bank, the gym, I mean, now you don't have to hang out with all of them, but having a good, friendly, mutual relationship is kind of all it takes. And why? Because that person will help you out if they need it, if you need it. That person will be kind to you when you're just talking to them. And that person will trust you. More importantly, they will trust you. Not necessarily with your families per se, but they will trust you as a person to be around and to get to know and to have a good mutual friendship with. So the book I have for today is the 21 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership. Now you're all probably wondering, what does irrefutable mean? Irrefutable means impossible to deny. And the reason why it's the irrefutable laws of leadership is honestly, there's not really much of an argument you can put up with the rules, I say the rules, the laws in this book. Here, many people use the word irrefutable a lot. Now, I've used the word fundamental a lot in my videos, the fundamentals of working out, the fundamentals of marketing, the fundamentals of building relationships, but irrefutable. The irrefutable laws of leadership. Now, for those of you who are big bosses and or managers, I'm just a worker. But I've had my fair share of bad bosses. I like the boss I have now, but in reality, as a boss, I understand that it's hard to care about people, especially when you work for a company where their turnover rate is high. People just quit and quit and quit, or you just work with people and everyone's known for not doing their job, or they do their job for a bit, they realize the whole company doesn't care, and then they stop caring. So, for those of you all watching this, I hope you can use these that I'm about to share with you. So, we usually start in the beginning, like we always do. And I want you to really think about this, because this spoke to me right when I opened this book. This spoke to me as I was looking through stuff to review. So listen to this. Leadership is developed daily, not in a day. That is the reality dictated by the law of process. We're talking about the law of process. Benjamin Disraeli asserted the secret of success in life is for a man to be ready for his time when it comes. What a person does on a disciplined, consistent basis gets him ready no matter what the goal. There is an old saying, champions don't become champions in the ring, they are merely recognized there. That's true. If you want to see where someone develops into a champion, look at his daily routine. Former heavyweight champ Joe Frazier stated, you can map out a fight plan or a life plan, but when the action starts, you're down to your reflexes. That's where your road work shows. If you cheated on that in the dark of the morning, you're getting found out under the bright lights. Found out now under the bright lights. Boxing is a good analogy for leadership development because it is all about daily preparation. Even a person with natural talent has to prepare and train to become successful. One of this country's greatest leaders was a fan of boxing, President Theodore Roosevelt. In fact, one of his famous quotes one of his most famous quotes uses a boxing analogy. I won't read that, but actually it says at the bottom, Roosevelt was a boxer himself, was the ultimate man of action. Not only was he an effective leader, he was a very effective leader, but he was one of the most flamboyant of all U.S. presidents. British historian Hugh Brogan described him as the ablest man to sit in the White House since Lincoln. the most vigorous since Jackson, the most bookish since John Quincy Adams. That was a lot to read, but think about that. Boxing is a good analogy for leadership development because it's all about daily preparation. So that's why I like to have a morning routine before I go to my job. I want to prepare for the day. I want to have food in me. I want to have a face washing routine. I have a martial arts routine because I'm learning to fight. I watch something that I want to learn about building muscle. Depends how long the video is. I eat a big breakfast. I do all of that. Prepare for the day. And when it comes to daily preparation, that's just what you do in life. That's how you reach your goals. You daily prepare what you're going to do for your goals. You prepare what you're going to do when you're taking a break for doing your goals, which is something that I'm working on. And when it comes to a break, I mean, you can watch maybe a 3-hour movie if you want for your break, which is great, but you do have to put in your head, that is 3 hours out of your day. Then you can also, let's say I have 3 days off with the job that I have. You can work your butt off the first 2 days, and on the third day you can still work, but you know what? Work for a little bit, then spend the rest of the day resting and hit it hard again the next time. And also, something he says right here, there's an old saying, champions don't become champions in the ring, they are merely recognized there. So think about that. When they win the fight, they were before they win the fight, they were a champion beforehand. You were just recognized there. All the hard work and the discipline, people don't see what you did to become a heavyweight champion. So just think about that. Boxing is a good analogy for leadership development because it's all about daily preparation, and leadership is developed daily, not in a day. Now, listen to the next topic I have for you. So the next topic is a fairly decent thing, but this topic is, we were talking about the law of process with the first one. This is the law of the picture. So, because of the law of the picture, I believe, well, what I'm about to read to you here, the picture has to do with like the vision of your goal. The vision of how you want to be a leader to your people. So when you're working for your company or your restaurant and you're leading people, think about where do you want them to go? How do you want to motivate them, which I know motivating people is really hard to do the work, and how to motivate them to want to move up so they can eventually help you more to make your job less stressful. Now, the reason with what I just said is so hard is because not only do people not want to work, there are some people who just simply do not want to do hard laboring jobs. Like being an iron worker pays very, very well, but I hear it is such hard work that you're tired all the time, and you work all the time. Being a lineman pays great, but you do 24-hour shifts or something. You're traveling all the time, and you just work a lot. But when it comes to making money, I do understand, and you work it for a job, you have to work in order to make money. You have to. It's 40-hour work week is great, but there's not going to be a 40-hour work week that pays you $100 grand a year. You will never become rich from your job. You can make a lot of money with a job, but you will never become rich from your job. So, the thing that I have here, I want you all to listen to this when it comes to picture. To do what is right is wonderful. To teach what is right is even more wonderful and much easier. It's always easier to teach what's right than it is to do it yourself. That's one of the reasons why many parents and bosses say, do as I say, not as I do. One of my earliest challenges as a leader was to raise my living to the level of my teaching. I can still remember the day that I decided that I would not teach anything I did not try to live out. That was a tough decision, but as a young leader, I was learning to embrace the law of the picture. Author Norman Vincent Peale stated, "Nothing is more confusing than people who give good advice but set a bad example." I would say a related thought is also true. Nothing is more convincing than people who give good advice and set a good example. So think about that right there. Nothing is more convincing than people who give good advice and set a good example. I was learning to embrace the law of the picture. Author Norman Vincent Peale stated, "Nothing is more confusing than people who give good advice but set a bad example." And I would say the related thought is also true. Leaders tell but never teach until they practice what they preach. As a leader, the first person I need to lead is me. The first person that I should try to change and improve is me. My standards of excellence should be higher for myself than those I set for others. So now think about that. You are learning to lead yourself more than you're learning to lead your people. And why? Because how you deal with people and how you deal with stress, frustration, and people, just I guess people in general, is how people are going to follow you. If you flip out and get angry all the time, or you're that one boss that, I mean, obviously I don't know if people don't like you or not, you might know, but that people don't like you because you're mean and you pick on people all the time. I mean, just why don't you not do that, or at least be nice? Because honestly, your coworkers are not going to hate, not your coworkers, but your workers are never going to hate you for being nice. And also, you're the boss. They can't take advantage of you in any way, shape, or form. You're fired, but just simply being nice to your workers is a huge thing. Because you're spending 40 hours a week, or sometimes even 60 hours a week with those people. And sometimes you just need to be nice to them. Sometimes. But the person you're learning to lead is yourself. And you're learning to lead yourself. You're learning to lead yourself through just experiences you have with dealing with people. And what it says here, my standards of excellence should be higher for myself than those I set for others. So you're working on yourself pretty much your entire life. It might sound crazy, but there's always going to be something to improve on. Always something to double your efforts in. Like with me in my last video, I'm working on my speed and trying to get more done throughout the day, so my day is not done. I mean, I did work today, but so I'm not throwing stuff in at 8:40 at night when I could relax and be watching stuff. So there is that, but you also do have to think though, in life, you are going to deal with things that you don't want to deal with. And you're going to deal with things when you don't want to. I mean, my last job, my coworkers hated when I called them after 7 o'clock at night when I needed something. Now, yes, I needed that thing I needed them for, but what they did not realize is I actually needed it. Like, they were not there. Like, it was not my problem that I couldn't figure this out while they were not there. So, as part of their jobs, they had to answer the phone. And sometimes you're going to have to answer the people even when you don't want to. And that's just life. It's life. And like what he says here, to do what is right is wonderful. To teach what is right is even more wonderful and much easier. So teaching what is right is huge. And I mean, kind of like what, there's another old saying, it's not in here, but it goes, there's your way, there's my way, and then there is the right way. So you always do the right way. Nothing matters to you. And teaching what is right and teaching people how to make their lives easier is great. And people are going to love you for that. They might be ignorant at first because they think they know everything, but when their life gets easier because you're teaching it to them, they're going to be very, very happy that you were there. And honestly, that's part of a job. When people teach you things and take the time and have the patience with you and teach you what is right, I mean, I like that a lot. I eat that up, especially when they're patient. Now, I understand some people are mean about it, especially if the job is important, but teaching what is right is a good thing. And it's like same thing with people. Teaching other people to be nice to others is huge. Teaching other people to help each other out, even when they don't ask, is huge. Integrity is huge. And the reason I say it's huge is because people view it as such a little thing, but in reality, it's going to get you somewhere in life. Eventually, the things you do and the habits you have will get you somewhere in life. And before, nothing is more convincing than people who give good advice and set a good example. Isn't that crazy? It's not looks, it's not money, it's just simply giving good advice and setting a good example. So really think about that. The third and final point that we have here is also, for those of you who want to know what bookmarks I use, it's just a folded up piece of a sticky note. So that's what I use, but a sticky note. So, the third thing I have is the law of sacrifice. Now that's a big one. Why is that a big one? Because it amazes me how many people will not sacrifice certain things in their lives just because of just life. So, sacrifice is you have to sacrifice things if you want people to grow and you want yourself to grow. Now, we're going to read this here in just a minute, but when it comes to sacrifice, good people sacrifice a lot. If you're watching this and you have good parents, you might think that they didn't treat you well or they're strict, but they sacrifice a lot for you. And for those of you who are watching this, if you're a teenager, your parents discipline you and yell at you because they love you. Why? And you're probably wondering, what do you mean? Why is that love? Well, the reason I say, and you might all know that, you probably have all heard that before, but they love you enough to care, and they love you enough to where they want you to make good choices, they want you to be successful, and most of all, they have high standards for you, but most of all, they care about you. They don't want to see you get hurt, they don't want to see you get addicted to something, they don't want to see you die, and they just want to see you being taken care of. They want to see you taking care of yourself. Now, the reason I bring that up is because personally I have not been thankful or grateful enough for my parents. So saying thank you and telling them how grateful you are for them, that will make their day. And it might not do anything for you, but like it matters. But simply telling your parents, not other people, your parents, how grateful and thankful you are to have them in their life is amazing. And they will eat that up, and they'll be very, very happy to hear that. But listen to what I have here about the law of sacrifice. The heart of good leadership is sacrifice. Philosopher, poet Ralph Waldo Emerson observed, "For everything you have missed, you have gained something else. For everything you gain, you lose something. Life is a series of trades, one thing for another. Leaders must give up to go up. That's true of every leader regardless of profession. Effective leaders sacrifice much that is good in order to dedicate themselves to what is best. That's the way the law of sacrifice works. The heart of leadership is putting others ahead of yourself. It's doing what is best for the team. For what reason? I believe that leaders have to give up their rights." Think about that. I'm going to read that again. Life is a series of trades, one thing for another. Leaders must give up to go up. That's true of every leader regardless of profession. Effective leaders sacrifice much that is good in order to dedicate themselves to what is best. That's the way the law of sacrifice works. So you sacrifice things to see what is best. So we'll use jobs for an example. I worked at a restaurant where I was making a very good amount, working 4 days and working about 6 hours a day. Now, I'm working 3 12s, 3 on, 3 off. Sometimes I work all weekend. Sometimes I work Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. I will occasionally do overtime when I want more money. And it's a big company, and it's lots of ways to move up. Whereas the restaurant, I made more money, but I had no desire to move up. And I had to work every weekend in order to make money. But I got paid every day. It was an easy job. I got to bond with a lot of the pretty waitresses and sometimes the pretty customers. I had fun, and it was a good job. But also with this job, I do have fun with my coworkers. However, and then I guess let me go back to the server thing for a bit. As a server, I worked at 10:30, 11 o'clock in the morning, worked till maybe 7, sometimes 4 if I wanted to work more, or I just simply worked like an 8 to 2. But now I'm working with my 312s. I'm working 6A to 6B. I got off of work 2 hours ago and chose to film this. Now, you're probably thinking right now, what's the point you're making? The trade-offs. There are trade-offs to everything. There are good and there are bad. So, with the money I'm making now, if they told me you could do 5/8 with the money you're making now, okay, great, let's do it. But the trade-off would be you have to work 5 days a week, and you'd have 8-hour shifts, but your 3 days of work will be added on by 2 more days. It'd be less time, but there's that. So the reason I bring that up also is because it doesn't matter what you want. If you have to, whatever you have to do to provide, that's what the law of sacrifice is. You do it to provide. So when you hear people who are working this much and they have family and they're like, oh, their life is awful. It's not awful. It's just they have in their head, I have to sacrifice this in order to provide for my family and to provide for, and even if they don't have a wife and kids, if they don't have money, you do what you have to do to make money. You do. And like you said, right here, for everything you have missed, you have gained something else. For everything you gain, you lose something. So when you give up fast food, you do give up that delicious meal, but you lose weight. When you give up watching TV to go to the gym, you give up that entertainment, but you gain a disciplined habit that will make you look amazing in the future. When you go to work, you lose a part of your day. You can be doing whatever you want, but you gain money and hopefully some skills depending on what you do. So what are you going to lose and gain in the law of sacrifice? You're probably going to lose some things that you don't want to do. You're probably going to lose some ways you have to act in order to be a good leader. You're going to have to lose some of your time, but you will gain not only a good reputation, but you will gain a good team. And that team will hopefully work hard enough and work good for you to where you will have to work less. And that's what you will gain. You'll have more time you have to put into it, but then that more time will eventually be less time. So you're losing your time, but you're gaining more of a team, and gaining more of a team will make you do less work. The other thing when it comes to sacrifice, what you sacrifice now, your life will eventually become easier. It eventually will be. So, the takeaway for this video is sacrifice something. Not sacrifice something, that's weird. Try losing something to gain something else today. We'll word it like that. Try giving up something so you can gain something else, something good. Now, usually the thing you gain is going to take some discipline, but try that out for a bit. Now, these are the 21 irrefutable laws of leadership. We'll talk about the law of process, the law of the picture, and the law of sacrifice. So, if you are watching this, I hope you all have a great day. I hope you are thankful and grateful for something today. And I hope you all read this book. And the other thing before I leave today is I do want to thank you all for those who have watched my videos. And I hope you are safe. And if you live somewhere where it is cold, you all stay warm. Thank you and have a great day.